This is Wandering Universe. Today, I'm going back to a tiny island located in the Pacific Ocean. Why? After researching the expanse of the island, something about it caught my attention. So, let's go exploring. Welcome. Yes, what you're seeing in front of you is the big blue marble, or as we know it, Earth. Now, after all this time that I've been showing you Earth from Google Earth, you must be wondering, why is this planet called Earth? Where did the name originate? Well, later on I'm going to do a video about it to study a bit more in depth about its ancient origin and why we call it Earth. But that'll be for a later video. Okay, let's move this ball around, as you can see right here. Yes, you're seeing South America, but we're not going there today. That'll be another time. Now, see this? This is called the Pacific Ocean. It's vast expanse and nothing but ocean, nothing but water. I'll give you an example. From Australia, go in a bit, from the east coast of Australia, if you live in Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane or Tasmania or Adelaide, you can take a flight across the Pacific Ocean to visit New Zealand and several Polynesian islands. For example, Hawaii, Bora Bora, as you can see here, the French Polynesian Islands, Cook Islands, etc. And then Tahiti. And then, I'm not talking about Pitcairn Islands, I'm talking about Tahiti. It's virtually a little pinhead in the ocean. And then, as you can see here, if I go out just a little bit, you see nothing but ocean. It's mostly a 24-hour flight. It is a very long flight, especially if you leave in the afternoon, later in the afternoon, and you fly across all night over the Pacific Ocean. And you will see nothing but little lights, little dots of lights or little globes of lights over from the air over the ocean. That is telling you that that is an island. The rest of the way is black, like this color behind Earth. So, it's a very long flight, and it'll take you all the way across the Pacific Ocean to Chile and Peru and to Argentina, if you're planning to travel to South America anytime soon. Now, I'm going to go out just a little bit. This is what it looks like, the Pacific Ocean. And if you're sailing across, say from Sydney all the way to, say, Ecuador or to the Galapagos Islands, it's going to take you weeks to get there. And some sailors have had a very hard time getting across the Pacific Ocean, not because of to do with weather changes, temperature, or if there's any wind about. Sometimes they can get no wind for up to a month while they're sailing out into international waters. And with international waters, it's basically the Wild West. You're on your own, and it's the law unto thyself. Yes, you do get pirates sailing out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and this leaves a lot of sailors very vulnerable to their approaching attacks. So therefore, you have to be very secured, well planned, and armed if you're going to encounter those sorts of mariners. Okay. Now, where we're going to today, as you can see here, this is the very place. It's just a dot in the ocean when you're flying above it. You virtually can't see. It's almost to the naked eye. Almost. It's almost invisible. Now, we're going to go in, right in. I'm going to talk a lot about, you guessed it, Easter Island. That's it. I'm going to talk a lot about it in the video. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like. There it is, staring at you in the face. There's a lot of mystery behind this island. Not everything is out in the open. Not everything has been unearthed. There's still a lot of questions left to be desired or left to be answered. So, as you can see, there's an underwater landmass surrounding this triangular shape island. I'm going to talk more about this island very soon, so hang tight. Now, I'm going to give you a viewing. So here we go. And there you have it. Easter Island. Enjoy. Out of it, put the compass back, go in a little bit just so you can get a better view, and there you have it, Easter Island. Sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is one of the tiniest islands on the Pacific Ocean. It sits between the Polynesian Islands and South America. This island is conveniently positioned along the celestial equator as the main hub for maritime navigation. Most importantly, it has a 360-degree radius, making it the epicenter of stargazing observation. Feel free to view or to catch up on Easter Island's bleak and disastrous history from my earlier videos. But today, I'll be showing something geometrically intriguing that might rewrite the pages of their history books. What makes this island stand out from the rest? It's not its tragic past from European invasion brought on by war, famine, disease and starvation. And its focal point is not the Polynesian migration using stone technology to sculpture the Moai. Before the Polynesian migration, these Moai have stood on this island for well over 12,800 years. The Moai are the sentinels stone of the island. The Moai have stood on these grass plains since the last ice age. The evidence lies on the 3 main volcanoes and the numerous pock-like cone craters scattered across one side of the landscape, meaning a group of ancient beings from far away manufactured these iconic statues for an astronomical purpose. Let me do the honours by taking you on a guided tour of the island from Google Earth. You will see the landmarks pinpointing the Moai whereabouts. Remember, most of the Moai are facing away from the ocean except for one. So, let's get on with the show. As you can see, even though Easter Island looks itsy-bitsy from this satellite view, it actually sits on this huge underwater landmass. This large region horizontally extends across the Pacific Ocean. The elevation is 507 metres, landmass is 163.6 kilometres squared, and a population of 7,750. There are 900 moai posted across the coastal edge of this island and a few planted inland. If you go across the submerged land trail, I'll call it, which looks like paint spilt across the floor, it spreads across to the Polynesian islands and all the way to Southeast Asia. And again, there are numerous speckled land masses along here, and if you move along to New Zealand and Australia, again, there is a submerged landmass extended out from the coastal edge. So, cruising right along to the Polynesian islands, here we see tiny speckled, almost freckle-like spots fleeted below the surface of the ocean. These islands are mostly peaks of massive submerged mountains, like railroad tracks or highways spanning towards Easter Island. As well, Easter Island sits on top of a massive submerged mountain. It's not hard to see numerous rugged and jagged terrain patterns surrounding it. This long landmass acts like a bridge that connects to the coastal edge of South America. It's interesting to point out that it's formed a two-pronged fork pattern. The first tip points towards Peru, not just to any location, but directly to Nazca. And what's in Nazca? The famous Nazca lines. Then the second tip points to the rough and uneven swirling terrain of Chile. These two locations acted as an integral part of bridging the gap to Easter Island. As I move in closer, you'll see the true size of its landmass. It's not very big, it's virtually a dot in the ocean from the sky. The outline simulates a pyramid shape that points towards north. Notice the three-sided appearance? The island is a naturally formed apex of a huge immersed mountain. Question is, what was this island used for? So, what you've just learnt now is only the tip of the iceberg. Now it's time to swoop in and get a bird's eye view of its uncultivatable landscape. There are around 900 to 1,000 moai dispersed across the vast plains. Almost all moai are made of tuff, a soft volcanic stone that makes it easy to carve and chisel but erodes rapidly. All are facing away from the ocean except for one, Ahu Akivi. Ahu Akivi stands on a large and elevated viewing platform looking straight out west towards South America. Why are these moai subsequently positioned in line with the stars? Well, if you compare this island to this star map, then you'll see what I mean. This star chart corresponds north to south if you are along the celestial equator. But if you are in Hawaii, you'll see the same constellations from the eastern horizon. Compare these two charts with the astronomical correlation to the moai. Most are orientating towards the constellations Orion and the Pleiades, also aligned to the 12 astrological sequence, meaning this island acts as a star compass, a celestial navigational instrument, to assist explorers voyaging along the celestial equator to travel to distant lands. Ahu Kiwi is precisely aligned with the sun's cycles during spring and autumn equinoxes, plus the waxing and waning of the monthly moon phases. In other words, This island was a stopover hub for the fly-by-night travellers. So, these big beasties played a major role as some kind of observatory to the stars, certainly for not religious, cultural and aesthetic uses. It's nowhere near what I read in textbooks years ago. A geographical compass, possibly a star date calendar corresponding to the geometric celestial alignment. Question is, where are the Moai facing? Ahuriata is the lone Moai facing towards Peru. In Hankaroa, there are two Moais facing diagonally from each other, Ahuriata and Ahuvinapu. Ahuriata faces away from the ocean towards southwest, but Ahuvinapu is facing toward the ocean, possibly pointing east. Many of the Moai around the island face away from the ocean. They stand in perfect unison, facing towards north-northeast and west-northwest. In Moai Tukuturi, there is a kneeling and beaded Moai, and the only one found next to Rano Raraku. Once again, it's facing away from the ocean front towards east-northeast direction. Most of the Moai facing away from the ocean are in Mirador Hang Kio and Ahu Ko Ti Raiku. Their upright heads are slightly tilted up, facing towards Peru and Chile, and more or less towards Ecuador and Mexico. Why is it so? In Volcan Poki, also contained a fallen Moai that faced away from the ocean, it is believed it was looking at the opposite direction towards New Zealand and Australia. This is also true for the fallen Moai in Pu'ohiro, facing the same direction away from the ocean. Were these Moai a signpost gearing travellers towards other destinations, visiting superstructures like the pyramids? To give you a bit of scope, here is a video from the Voyage that introduces the Polynesian celestial mapping.
Navigation, it's been around for at least 3,000 to 4,000 years, when our ancestors were coming across the Pacific and applying their trade and then becoming master waka builders and master navigators. The star compass, it's been with us since our ancestors started navigating. It's a tool that we're able to use and then later memorize so that we can understand where the rising and setting points of the sun, the moon and the stars all are. We have our four main points of north, south, east and west. In between them we have 7 different whare. Stars, they live in a whare, they live in a house, they stay in that whare. They rise in that whare, they'll set in a whare over the other side of the compass, but it's still got the same name of the whare. On a waka, you don't have any landmarks to be able to understand which direction you're going in. All you've got is whole 360 degrees of ocean. And so you need to somehow be able to break that horizon up so that you can understand which direction you're going. When you see that sun rising when you're on the waka, then whichever way your waka is facing, that's where you're calibrating your hand, you're working out how many houses, how many whare you are away from your particular mark that you've got on the horizon, whether it's stars, the sun or the moon. What you're really doing is you're stepping off the star compass and you're putting everything into your memory, into your hiningaro, so you can go anywhere after you've got all that memorised and understand in which direction you're going at any time of the day or night.
Off the cuff, I'm beginning to suspect that Easter Island wasn't entirely covered in a blanket of trees. But to claim that deforestation occurred during the Polynesian social decline after the last ice age makes me think twice about its oral and written history. I know, it's way out of our league, but how did airborne travellers seek other lands given airspace was controlled by this lone island? I mean, the Moai must have been visible from the air that directed ancient globetrotters expedite the flow of space travel. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is the celestial landmark of gentle giants that acted as observation towers to the stars. The island's natural trilateral shape, with its geometric contours of a pyramid, seated on top of an immense mountain hidden beneath the dense ocean. There is cause for its geographical location along the celestial equator that once served as a star compass and a star date calendar. A Solenergy outpost for otherworldly beings charts their course voyaging across the Pacific. The Moai ornament shape salutes to the sun and moon cycles during the spring and autumn equinoxes like clockwork. They stand frozen in time, continually observing the constellations, such as the Belt of Orion and the Pleiades, keeping watch over our galaxy. But whom do they represent? Who are they keeping watch? The last volcanic eruption on Runarau and Runararaku took place between 15,000 to 9,000 years ago, whilst the Moai were still left standing without being buried in volcanic silt. In other words, if the Polynesians never sculptured these gentle beasties and manoeuvred to precisely align them to the stars, then who did? So many questions yet to be answered. That's the beauty of the island's mystery. It'll never stop you searching for answers. In the next video, I'll be exploring the intriguing abandoned monuments in ancient India. That's all for now.